What's up, guys? It's your boy, the essential John L. Crossfire, aka the real main event, aka the Rogue Soldier, and today you're about to learn firsthand just what it's like to be caught in the crossfire. But above all else, prepare yourself, because in this very moment, today, right now, you are about to be caught in conversation. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 40 of Caught in Conversation. As always, I am the essential John L. Crossfire, and I'll be honest, this one is going to be almost like a little filler episode because I had to scramble. I really had to struggle to put this episode together, hence why I have titled this episode The One with the Stuff and Things. Well, that and because myself and Mrs. Crossfire have been binge-watching the absolute hell out of Friends. Originally, myself and Mrs. Crossfire were going to be doing our review of TMDU Roll On now that we have watched the IWTV feed. Of course, we were there a month ago live when it did happen and it was awesome. Nonetheless, however, due to Mrs. Crossfire's work schedule changing, I had to call an audible, had to pull something out of my ass. And as I record this, I'm leaving tomorrow for Western Warfare 5 in 2 days' time, which will actually have happened the day before this episode drops. So by the time you hear this, Western Warfare 5 is in the books. Myself and James Hellfire will be reunited, and it feels so good. So I did put some feelers out. I asked for some questions, and I thank those that did send questions in. First and foremost, though, I am thinking of all of those who have been affected by the floods. There's crazy floods in the top half of Australia right now. So everyone that has been affected, I'm thinking of you. I know that, thoughts and prayers don't really actually go a long way, but I hope you all bounce back as soon as possible. As for this actual episode, though, we had some pretty massive news just hours ago upon recording this. It was announced that Tony Khan, owner of AEW, All Elite Wrestling, and the Jaguars, of course, the NFL team, along with his father, he now owns Ring of Honor Wrestling, ROH. Holy fucking shit. He's almost every week, it seems like Tony Khan has a huge announcement. But finally, he made an announcement that actually lived up to the hype. James Hellfire sent me a message saying that, so Tony Khan owns AEW, Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor now, and I was just like, what? We talked about how All Out last year, the pay-per-view for AEW was groundbreaking. This here could potentially change the landscape of professional wrestling for the next 20 years. Of course, Ring of Honor celebrating their 20th year this year, as is Impact Wrestling, by the way. Completely unrelated, but Ring of Honor celebrating their 20th year this year. This could be fucking insane, absolutely bonkers, and absolute, this could be the start of a new era that could continue potentially for the next 20 years, hopefully, if Mr. Khan doesn't blow his budget. And now, for the past few months, since Ring of Honor have taken their hiatus, there has been rumors flying around that their tape library was up for sale, but Tony Khan's come out and he's just straight up bought the entire fucking company. Now, I do see this as a good thing. I am trying to be optimistic. I just hope that he does keep it separate from AEW, and from the little reports that we have had, it seems that that's what he wants to do. Apparently, Ring of Honor is almost going to be the NXT to the AEW Dynamite, if you want to make that comparison. But I do hope that for the most part, he keeps them separate. Or at the same time, having guys go in like CM Punk, Christopher Daniels, or Bryan Danielson competing under a Ring of Honor banner once again would be amazing. I just hope he doesn't pull, I don't want to see the old invasion angle. That has been done to death in every promotion just about ever. From the highest of highs to the lowest of rinky-dink backyard wrestling. Just stop the invasions, at least for another 10 years. But I honestly do think that this could be a great platform for some of the talent that's on both Dark and Dark Elevation. If you have a Ring of Honor event, say every month or at least every couple of months, as either a pay-per-view or an Honor Club special, assuming that they keep Honor Club. But there's a few people that are frequently on Dark and Dark Elevation, like a Tony Nese, a Serpentico, a Fuego del Sol, Anthony Green, Sonny Kiss. The list goes on and on and on. That could very much thrive in a Ring of Honor type scenario. Like, I know, they've made a big deal about it being the end of an era at the last Final Battle pay-per-view, which I did cover here on the pod, but I have no doubt that when Ring of Honor does come back, in whatever form it does, at Supercard of Honor, that it will very much be the same atmosphere and aesthetic in terms of the product, the atmosphere of the fan reaction as well. And it makes Supercard of Honor even more intriguing than it already was. Like, everyone's been talking for months, what does the new era of Ring of Honor look like? And now you throw the monkey wrench in of Tony Khan owns both products now, both AEW and Ring of Honor. So you never know who may show up because they're all under Tony Khan's payroll. So you could even have, guys like a Brian Cage, for example. He hasn't been on AEW TV for a while. I feel like he would absolutely thrive in that Ring of Honor environment. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the Honor division, for lack of a better term. I just hope that, given Tony's fandom as well, for the old school wrestling, classic wrestling, the technical side of wrestling, I'm hoping personally, just as a mark, that I hope he overturns the decision that the previous management made of making the Pure Championship defunct once again. Or at the very least, I hope that he still makes a focus on Pure Rules matches. But that's just me, just as a mark. But yeah, Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor. What the fuck? What the absolute fuck? I mean, as I said, I see it as nothing as a good thing. I am trying my best to be optimistic. And I am super invested in seeing it where it goes. They have announced that, more details to follow in weeks to come, Make you wait and wait and wait. And obviously, a Supercard of Honor is just under a month away. So hopefully, we won't have to wait too much longer to find out just what all the specifics are. But again, I'm super invested. Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor. On a completely different note, though, we go from Tony Khan buying a wrestling company to me buying video games. I don't know about you guys, but I am super, super keen for WWE 2K22 to release next week. Actually, that makes me wonder if Ring of Honor will be in the AEW video game now that they have all the rights. But anyway, I've been watching videos all week long about the info they have released thus far on WWE 2K22. I mean, I've actually been doing it for the last couple of months, but especially this week. And it looks like it's definitely going to be more playable than the last mess that was WWE 2K20. Of course, they skipped 2K21. So let's hope we're not all setting ourselves up for heartbreak here. But from the gameplay that we have seen, it looks absolutely amazing. I have pre-ordered the deluxe edition myself. I'm actually very grateful for that because when I paid off the rest of it the other day, the guy told me that it had actually sold out. So I was lucky. But I am really looking forward to the showcase mode that will focus on the career of Rey Mysterio, arguably the greatest luchador of all time, or at the very least, definitely the greatest luchador of the modern era, that is for sure. Just this morning, as I record this, they have confirmed that the infamous match between Rey and Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc 1997 will be included, meaning we can access not only that arena, but both respective attires from those men in that match. So hell yes, I was really worried because when they did the ratings reveal for this, they showed 7 different versions of Rey Mysterio, and that 1997 version wasn't listed. And of course, they've got Starrcade 96 as DLC. But yeah, apparently they've pulled a swerve here. And we have it. At the very least, it's going to be an alternate model, or an alternate attire if it's not a separate model. And speaking of attires, I'm probably going to pinch Eddie's tights from that match, if possible, for my My Rise mode character, which of course is the new title that they've given to the new revamped version of the My Career mode. I'm actually really keen for the roster as well. Like, I know there's some people that have been removed, some people that are still in, which make no sense because they've been released, since 2020. But I think it's a great roster, and especially with how unplayable 2K20 was, maybe I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of leeway, but there's a few people like a John Morrison who I'm a huge mark for, right? Jeff Hardy obviously was, released way before the cutoff, so he's still going to be in there. But a guy like Keith Lee still being in there pops the hell out of me. So yeah, people are, they're allowed to have their own opinion. So, if they're not happy with the roster, that's fine. But I dig it. I think it's cool. And there's a few cool DLC announcements for it as well. But let me know what you guys think. Are you going to pick up WWE 2K22? And if you are, what mode are you most excited for? I'm also excited, as I said, I'm most excited more than anything for the showcase mode, but I'm excited to see the newer version of the My GM mode. Obviously, people are complaining because it's a little bit watered down, but I feel like having the universe mode, you can't do a full-on GM mode because then that just makes having both of them redundant. I was actually talking to Hellfire about this, that maybe, they should add an option to the universe mode where, you could turn maybe a budget on or off or drafting and stuff like that. I don't know, just food for thought, but I'm pretty keen. As I said, let me know what you guys, thoughts are. Are you looking forward to the game? If you are, what are you looking forward to from the game? But the reason I bring up video games is because I just finally started playing and finished Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone that may or may not, or should say may not, have played it yet either. But to quote Ron Burgundy, I'm trapped in a glass case of emotion. I need the rumored sequel to the first Spider-Man one ASAP, and hopefully it'll kind of tie up a few things that happened in the Miles game as well, because I'm just, so fucking good. It was like the Deadpool game that they released years ago, like such a good game, but just way too short. Way too short. The moment I saw the tracksuit in this game, I instantly realized why my mate Jeff, aka Mac Attack Cosplay, who was the very first ever guest here on Caught in Conversation, go check that one out, I believe it was episode 21, but I instantly realized why he was drawn to the tracksuit, because it's just freaking awesome. So many awesome suits in this game, but the tracksuit easily made its way into being one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man suits, hands down. There is actually a few suits from this game as well that kind of got my brain ticking about, possibly getting back into cosplay, because a lot of people that know me personally know that that was something I was passionate about and I wanted to get into it, and then I never took that leap. But there's 2 or 3 suits just from this Miles Morales game alone that I really, really, really want to cosplay. But upon finishing Miles Morales, I've been playing Mortal Kombat 11 just to kind of kill time, and it's fun to just rip people to shreds. But I'm mostly trying to kill time before WWE 2K22 does get released next week. But I've been a big fan of Mortal Kombat from way back in the day. I still haven't actually seen the new movie yet. I might actually watch that tonight while it's still fresh on my mind. But in saying that, it's still a few hours away. My ADHD ass will probably get distracted by something else. But something that really ticked in my mind while I was playing this. Now, I've always wanted to cosplay as Scorpion, as he's my all-time favorite Mortal Kombat character, and my love for him keeps growing and growing with every game almost. But Aaron Black, I realized the other night just how much he gives me severe John Crossfire vibes, especially the new, more grizzled version of him that is in Mortal Kombat 11. So I've 100% added him to my cosplay list as well. As I said, this is kind of a filler episode. I'm just ranting, but I had all these thoughts that I wanted to put out. Let me know what characters, if any, that you guys could see me pulling off if I was to cosplay, because it's something that I really, really want to get into. But yeah, excited for WWE 2K22. Lots of Miles Morales suits that I want to cosplay as, and I've added Aaron Black to that cosplay list. And of course, as I said, Scorpion's been on that list for years. The song of the week this week, we'll move on. The song of the week this week is Numb to Everything by Citizen Soldier. This is one of the latest releases. They've actually just released another new song yesterday upon recording this, which no doubt will be a song of the week at some point in the near future. But again, the song of the week this week is Numb to Everything by Citizen Soldier. And just remember, as I always say, it is okay to not be okay. The match of the week this week is Rob Van Dam. Yes, I was doing the thumbs even though it's an audio podcast, versus John Cena for the WWE Championship at ECW One Night Stand 2006. I don't know how many times I have watched this match because I actually have this pay-per-view on DVD. I've had it since it very first, came out when I was like 12 years old. And it actually came with a bonus DVD of the first ever ECW pay-per-view, ECW Barely Legal 1997, which is pretty fucking cool. I still have this somewhere in my collection too, by the way. But I was recently watching a best of Rob Van Dam playlist, just kind of to chuck on some background noise. Needed some wrestling. I was like, yep, RVD is a good choice. Chucked it on. And this is the first time really rewatching this match since actually, being in the business. And I use that term loosely. But being a bit more knowledgeable, since the last time I saw it, and off the back of that Matt Cardona versus Joey Janela match at GCW a few weeks back, I've gone from loving this match as a fan to realizing just how much of an absolute masterpiece it actually truly is, especially with the way they all, just adapted and played off the crowd reaction, which, pointing out the obvious here, but that's, the most important mark of a performer in sports entertainment. But again, that match is RVD versus John Cena at ECW One Night Stand 2006. But I'll move on to the questions portion of this episode. Before I do that though, I have a question for you guys. What do you guys want from the pod going forward? So far, I've had some really great feedback that I really appreciate. I also had a lot of fun with some of the episodes, especially with the guests. The Markapalooza episode so far, with Mrs. Crossfire and Atticus Lane, still a lot of fun. Ho! If you haven't listened to that one, go listen to it. But what do you guys want to see, like in terms of segments, guests, etc., etc.? Just food for thought, that's all. Like, what do you guys want from the pod going forward? If anything, if you like it as it is, just say, hey, like the pod. Some of you have already hit me up and just to tell me that, just to say, hey, I'm enjoying the pod, and I constantly enjoy that. And it's not because I'm an egotistical prick or I'm not a narcissist. I like knowing that the work that I put into this podcast, because as fun as it is, I put a lot of fucking work into this podcast, especially when it comes to the matches of the week at times. But yeah, I have a lot of fun. I thank you for the support, but just what, if anything, do you guys want to see me do, not do because you're not watching it, but what do you want to hear from me going forward? And it's probably stop being so repetitive. You've just started over that question 5 times. That's okay. What do you guys want from me going forward? But I'll move over. I'll answer some questions, or a question. I only received one question, but in fairness, I didn't really give much notice, and this question that I got has multiple potential answers, and because everything in wrestling is subjective, you could ask this question to other people, and they would probably have a completely different answer or answers as well. So I say thank you to Lockie James, because he asks, who is the Mount Rushmore of Australian professional wrestling? Now, I interpreted this question as currently active in this country. So a guy like Robbie Eagles, who although still frequents the country quite often, isn't included because he is signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Guys like Jonah and Buddy, they're Aussies, they're killing it over in the US on the independents, but I'm taking this specifically as the current landscape of Australian professional wrestling in the actual country of Australia, or it's actually a continent. Isn't Australia the only one that's both a continent and a country? I remember there was like a debate about that on Jimmy Neutron as a kid, and I was like, oh my god, Jimmy Neutron's talking about Australia. But anyway, I digress. Again, ADHD. I'm sorry, not sorry. You get what you pay for because it's free. That joke makes me laugh every time. Sorry. Not sorry. But again, as I said, this is a really good question, Lockie, and I thank you for that because it all depends. Again, every wrestling's subjective, and there's so many different, genres and subcategories of professional wrestling, so many factors going into everything that makes up a performer. So I was just like, screw it, I'm going to make multiple lists. And the first one was one that was very dear to my heart, and that's character work. I'm very big on character work. Anyone that's seen me perform would notice that I'm a bit over the top, I'm a bit of a goofball, I'm a bit of a douchebag at times. That's okay. It's all for show. It's all for fun. But on this list, I would put Loverboy Lockie Hendricks. Loverboy, son! JXT, Big Brother Billy Preston. He, along with Jimmy Townsend as the prefects, did some perfect, amazing comedy. And of course, I had Cherry Stevens as part of that group towards the end as well. And she's actually currently doing some great stuff in her own right alongside Will Kiedis as well. Or Will Kiedis. Sorry. And then Mick Moretti. He's been on most people's radars for years, and he can do pretty much anything in terms of performing. And the fact that he hasn't been signed anywhere absolutely boggles my mind. But his character work especially stands out, stands head and shoulders above pretty much most people. From both the ridiculous hair and the steampunk goggles to the whole, Joker-esque gimmick that he's doing right now. He's absolutely nailed everything that he's pretty much ever done from a character standpoint. So to recap, my Mount Rushmore for character work in current Australian wrestling is Lockie Hendricks, JXT, Billy Preston, and Mick Moretti. And then on the other side of that, okay, you go from the character work to the actual wrestling. Wrestling. It's pro wrestling / sports entertainment, same fucking thing. But I think the Mount Rushmore for technical wrestling in current Australian professional wrestling, Gavin McGavin, Jessica Troy, Jack Bonza, and I'd probably have to say Ricky South. He's a very good grappler. And then if you want to flip that, you go from grappling to straight up violence. We've got DMDU, and since they've popped up, a couple of other promotions have tried to piggyback off the whole deathmatch stuff, and look, more power to them. But I think if I had to do a Mount Rushmore of current Australian deathmatch wrestling, I would have to say Callan Butcher, who I voted for IWTV Wrestler of the Year in 2021, Joel Bateman, Vixen, and Mad Dog. We've got quite a few powerhouses all around the country as well within professional wrestling in Australia, so I made a list of that as well. I went Tommy Knight, Rip Riley, the final boss Jake Andrew Arthur, and Caveman Ugg. What's the opposite of a powerhouse? A high flyer. So my top 4 high flyers currently in Australia right now are Royce Chambers, Paris De Silva, Zane Zodiac, and honorary Australian Emin the Kid. I really hope that Emin is able to extend his visa because it is up soon and he's just really starting to come into his stride, especially here in Australia. He's absolutely killing it, making waves. I really hope to see more of Emin the Kid in the future. And again, Robbie Eagles would have been on that list, but I did exclude him because he is currently in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is contracted by them. And even Robbie Eagles' former tag team partner, though, Matt Diamond, you could easily, flip a coin between him and Emin the Kid or anyone on that list. Again, it's all subjective, but yeah, the final list for that was Royce Chambers, Paris De Silva, Zane Zodiac, and Emin the Kid for my Mount Rushmore of high flyers in current Australian professional wrestling. And now, this isn't really, a Mount Rushmore, but 4 people currently, or 4 talents that I feel are underappreciated / will break out in Australia sooner than later are Rochelle Rogue, Zane Zodiac, Cherry Stevens, and the Overlord Manos. Rounding it out, though, you put everything together, wrap it up in a nice little package with a nice little bow. You have complete performance, so character, in-ring, promos, fan connection, etc., 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 all rolled into one big steaming joint of professional wrestling. I put Jessica Troy, and much like Mick Moretti, I just said before, the fact that she hasn't been signed absolutely boggles my fucking mind. But Jess will be making her way to Dallas, Texas in the US for WrestleMania weekend, and I'm sure she's going to make some waves there. It would not surprise me one bit if she was signed off the back of whatever she does that weekend. We have Caveman Ugg, JXT, and again, flip a coin here, but I'd go either Ricky South or Adam Brooks. With all due respect to Brooksy, he was actually signed to Ring of Honor before, unfortunately. They had the whole rebranding and the releasing literally everyone on the talent. I would probably just give the edge currently to Ricky South. But then again, you've also got to give, mentioning, Brooksy in Ring of Honor, you've also got to give another Aussie who was in Ring of Honor, Slex, an honorable mention as well. But yeah, I think I'd go Jessica Troy, Caveman Ugg, JXT, and Ricky South for my overall current Australian wrestling Mount Rushmore. And again, it's all subjective. Let me know who you guys think. You don't necessarily have to break it down, category by category if you don't want to, but give me some fan interaction. That sounds really pompous. Fan interaction, but converse with me, the namesake of the podcast, Caught in Conversation. Let's get caught in conversation. Let's maybe have a friendly debate. Keep it friendly, please. Maybe have a friendly debate. Maybe we'll agree. Who knows? But I thank you, Lockie, for that awesome question, because I really had to do some thinking about this. I spent the last few hours since you asked me that question really just kind of biting my nails kind of thing, because I was just like, shit, there was the problem with Australian wrestling, and I say problem, tongue in cheek, it's a blessing and a curse, because on one hand, we have so much talent here, and on the other hand, we have so much fucking talent here. Australian professional wrestling, and this, look, people are going to say, oh, you're Australian, and I have people that listen in the US and Canada, and randomly have a listener frequently in Chile. I think that even though I am Australian, so maybe I'm biased, I think, hands down, Australia has the best professional wrestlers in the world right now, and it's been that way for the last 2-3 years. Maybe longer, but yeah, that was my Mount Rushmore. I thank you, Lockie, for that question. Very much appreciated. Made me stretch out, at least 20 minutes or so. So thank you very much, because we are blessed, as I say. We have so much talent in Australia. We have so many amazing schools here in Australia. We have 3 Count, Relentless, Vicious Pursuit, of course, both PWA and MCW academies, and then the list just goes on and on and on. We got a handful more. So I have no doubt that list, I call it a list, but I have no doubt that those names will continue to grow, continue to change. There's just so much untapped potential in this country, and it just makes me so fucking happy as both a fan and someone that, is loosely in the business. It just makes me grin from ear to ear like the Cheshire Cat. It's simple as that. But that will bring me to a close to this episode, if you want to call it that. It is a lot shorter than some of the other ones. I don't think I've done an episode even close as short as this one, except for the second one when I was still really trying to find my feet. And let's face it, I didn't find my feet until episode 5 was great because that was the tag team one. But, episode 10, I did the Eddie Guerrero one. It was fun because he's my hero. But really, around until about episode 17, 18, I think, was when I really kind of started to hit my stride. And we're rocking and rolling now, so I almost feel bad putting out a shorter episode, but we've got some really good ones coming out in the next couple of weeks that I am so fucking excited for. Catching up with Hellfire, catching up with other people at Western Warfare, which, as I said, by the time you hear this, I've already talked to those people, hopefully recorded interviews with a couple of other wrestlers that I know in person. Holy shit, yes, finally. But that will bring me to a close. And as I upload this episode, as this episode first drops, for the first couple of days, there is currently a sale on a Pro Wrestling Tees that will still be active for the first couple of days when this episode drops. And I did just drop two new shirts for myself and James Hellfire as the Fire on mine and his Pro Wrestling Tees stores respectively. It's the same design, but it's 2 different shades of blue. One's light, one's dark, or royal and sapphire. if you want to be technical. Don't forget, I do also have a Caught in Conversation t-shirt as well as a couple of other designs up there. I've got a nice little variety for what you may or may not like. But remember to check the links in the description box below for that store, and of course all of my social media accounts, so that we can converse, chat, as I say, friendly debate about professional wrestling. The song of the week this week was Numb to Everything by Citizen Soldier. The match of the week this week was RVD versus John Cena at ECW One Night Stand 2006. I am the Essential John L. Crossfire. Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor! And you were just caught in conversation. Stay safe, everyone.